Redbox's new movies at the box and streaming on demand. Don't miss Fat Man starring Mel Gibson. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch. So James Harden, as you well know, wants to force a trade to the Nets, but then word yesterday he'd be open to a trade with the Sixers or the always murky other contenders, whatever that means. If he were to go to Philly, he would be reunited with his old GM Daryl Morey, and he had his most success under Morey in Houston. Jay, how likely is it that Harden ends up in Philadelphia?
I think the chances are high. Now, look, I don't think Daryl Morey is getting a Christmas card from Tillman Fertitta, the owner of the Houston Rockets. But if you're the owner of the Rockets and if you're Rafael Stone, the GM of the Rockets, you're looking at the scenario and saying, do I need to trade James Harden to get value in return? Or do I hold on to him and potentially only make 60 or 70 cents on the dollar?
What's the value? What's the swap?
Ben Simmons and first-round picks.
Okay. For that amount of money, you got to go player for player, and obviously we saw a huge player-for-player swap last week.
It depends on how much more he wants to give up, if he's going to be held ransom by Rafael Stone or not.
We'll see. This is a huge decision. The first big decision for the new Rockets GM could be the biggest decision he makes his entire front office tenure. That says something right out of the gate.
It's a hell of a first decision.
Right? And it can affect and alter the balance of the franchise moving forward. LeBron wants to move forward, says, yeah, I was hurt by Kyrie's lack of faith when Kyrie made some comments on KD's podcast that essentially said that when games were being played down the stretch, this is the first time with me and KD in Brooklyn that I've looked down and said, hey, somebody else can make a big-time shot too. Obviously, LeBron and Kyrie were teammates in Cleveland. Here's LeBron on Spectrum Sportsnet, the Road Trippin' podcast, essentially weighing in on those Kyrie comments.
So when I heard the comment that Kyrie made, I wanted to, not only find the whole transcript, but also call my people, send me the whole transcript. And I heard he did it on Katie's podcast. And I was a little like damn.
Yeah.
Once I got the whole transcript, I was like, damn. You know, I wasn't like, oh, you tripping. I've hit game-winning shots my whole life. I was not like that. I was like, damn, because the whole time while I was there, I only wanted to see him be an MVP of our league. And it kind of hurt me a little bit.
I think that's fair. That's some honesty from LeBron. That was on Spectrum Sportsnet, the Road Trippin' podcast, one of the co-hosts of the Road Trippin' podcast. Richard Jefferson, who was on the 2016 Cavs championship team with both LeBron and Kyrie, is going to join us this morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern to weigh in with his comments. He's got a unique view, having been on that championship team, knowing them both in Cleveland. What do you think of LeBron essentially pouring his heart out and saying, man, he said that, but he really said it?
Yeah, sometimes, it takes two to tango. A lot of times people think that, right? But LeBron's LeBron. It's like I've been doing this my entire career. I've been making big-time shots. So it's kind of like,
right.
But LeBron also knows who Kyrie is, and he's been around him. He understands him. So I think when LeBron looked at it, it was just like, dude, is that it again? Like, what's the issue from an outsider? I know LeBron. I don't know Kyrie. I don't think I've ever met Kyrie. But just from a outside looking at it, it's almost like there's this jealousy situation with Kyrie and LeBron. Like, for what though? Like, I don't know what it is, but it seems like, and Jay is in the NBA loop, so he can explain it further. It's just like, for me, it just seems like there's like this jealousy sort of I'm on a needle LeBron for no apparent reason. I just want to do it to see what people say, but I really don't know what I'm doing. That's what it kind of seems like to me.
Yeah, no, I think you're on the right track here. I think, and this is more speculative, but when I heard Bron talk about Kyrie when they were playing in Cleveland, Bron oftentimes referred to Kyrie as kid, right? And I think for Kyrie, he wanted to be seen as like a colleague, like a peer, somebody on the same level as Bron, even though we know that Bron is on a different level. Now, I don't know how that manifested itself.
I don't understand that, man.
I don't know how that manifested itself. But look, this is why I said February 18th is going to be that game that I hope we have the vaccine. I will be there. Key will be watching that game.
We got to go to break, kid. We got to go to break.
Okay, all right, we're going to break.
Rodgers, Breeze, Wilson. Who's most likely to win Ring 2 this February?
To Sal Pell. All right, NBA. After the Rockets started training camp without him over the weekend, James Harden was back in Houston Tuesday, taking a COVID test as part of the NBA's protocol to return to play. Once cleared, Harden can join his Rocket teammates in camp. In the meantime, Harden has made no secret of his desire to play elsewhere. Here's Adrian Wojnarowski with the latest.
The kind of contenders that James Harden wants to go to, places that you have a chance to win a championship in, presumably big markets, big cities. There are very few who have the assets, who have the great young player, who have the draft picks to put a package together for the Rockets. And that's why Brooklyn, Philadelphia, there are avenues for those two organizations to put packages together. But right now, Philadelphia specifically, Daryl Morey has no intention of trading Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons. And that makes it hard to put a package together that would be able to acquire James Harden. They've had no substantive talks, I'm told.
James Harden has made the playoffs in each of his 11 seasons. That's the second longest active streak in the NBA, behind Kyle Korver. But he hasn't been able to win the whole thing. He's also just one of 3 players in his...
I need to build the trust with everybody on the team. So we'll build that when he gets here.
Joined once again by Adrian Wojnarowski. And Woj, as you're reporting that James Harden had showed up, was tested. And I guess my first question here is real simple. He wasn't there, and now he is. So what changed?
Well, he decided, listen, he was in Atlanta at little baby's birthday party. It appears he was in Vegas at clubs there, and then decided to work his way back to Houston. But listen, at heart, James Harden does love to play basketball. Ultimately, I think it's difficult to keep him away from that, even if he's sending a message to the organization that he was in no rush to get there. He wasn't going to make Stephen Silas's first days as head coach easy, that he wants a trade, but it appears he is moving toward showing up for practice and starting to become a part of this team again.
Hey, who hasn't missed some work when you're in Vegas and at rappers' birthday parties? I mean, I know that we couldn't find you for weeks. Where the hell's Woj? He's with Lil Baby in Atlanta. What's the sense, Woj, about Harden's willingness to be a teammate and to be part of Houston if his ultimate end game of hoping to get somewhere else doesn't come to be?
Here's the thing, Scott, with James Harden in Houston is he has gotten virtually everything he's asked for in his time there. Everything was designed around him. And so he's always been able to get what he wants with that Rockets organization. And now all of a sudden, Scott, he's not getting what he wants, at least here in the short term, which is a trade out of Houston. He's got 2 years left on his deal. And part of his, Tim McMahon and I reported today, of opening it up further and, telling the Rockets there were more teams he would be interested in being traded to, including the Philadelphia 76ers, was a nod by him to the fact that nothing's moving with Brooklyn. So if he wants to get out, he's got to be willing to look at some other places. Because remember, Scott, teams are going to be hesitant to trade for James Harden if they're not sure he wants to be there. You don't want to give up all the assets you would need to and then have him walk in 2 years.
Yeah, and I'd be real hesitant to give him everything he wanted when the last organization just gave him everything he wanted, and he still said he wanted to leave. I get that they've got all the power, but that's brutal, man. If you're Houston, what the hell do you do?
They bring in John Wall with 3 years, $100 million plus left on that contract, having not played in 2 years. There's great risk with that. They have moved teammates in and out with him. They have had success there, Scott. Now, they didn't win the ultimate. They didn't get to the finals, and I think James Harden feels like he's gone as far as he can with that Houston organization and wants a trade. But, Rafael Stone, their new GM, he's in a tough spot here. But I think the one thing the Rockets are trying to do is slow play this, to not be in a rush to do a deal, because what they can't do is a bad deal. They do have time on their side. But back to your original question, how difficult is James Harden going to make life there for the Rockets in the interim?
In the meantime, Woj, enjoy Atlanta and Lil Baby. We'll be keeping our eyes peeled for whatever news you might break in between your,